chapel, and hello to you at home. I'm Sarah, and I'm just going to tell you the announcements today. If you want to learn more about what's going on in the church during the week, text WELCOME to 603-392-7511. Also, we have children's ministry, so after worship, if you want to send your kids downstairs, there's stuff for them to do, and it's going to be a great time. They always have a blast. Also, on Wednesday nights, we have a prayer night, and it's really great. It's powerful, and I just recommend and encourage all of you to come. It's really great. We have a veterans dinner coming up November 6th. It's a Friday, so for all of you who are veterans or know veterans, please invite them. Please tell them about that date. And then for any of you who are interested in helping out and being a part of that, you want to talk to Jenna about that. Speaking of talking to Jenna, also something we have been talking about in the staff meeting is the Christmas party. And we have some different plans this year of how we want to do it. But part of that is that we need your help. So if we want to do a Christmas party this year, we really ask that you talk to Jenna about being a part of it and serving. We really need help serving if we want to get it together and make it happen. Other than that, there's lunch after the service, so please enjoy it and come into the other room. All right.
Good morning, everybody. I know this is a little bit unusual. It's still an amazing day to be together and to worship God, is it not? Yeah. So we're trying out something new. We're going to do a tandem sermon. So I'm going to take the first half, and then Nathaniel's going to take the second half, and that's because people tend to remember the things that come in the second half, and I'd rather you remember what he says than what's in mine.
We're going to redo that.
But, so in discussing for what we wanted to talk about this week, Nathaniel and I got on the subject of priorities, and I like to reflect on where things were in the past, and just thinking about a year ago, how the world has changed. It's bizarre how different the world is, isn't it? Like, personally, I had just started coming here, and I think I was still going between my dad's church and here. Travis and Miranda hadn't even shown up yet. We have Brett that has just started coming here. And, like, the church is different, but also, like, how we come to church is entirely different too. For so many of the guys here, we'd listen to about 5 minutes of Joe's sermon and then start thinking about the football game. That's going to be on later. And I guess football's still going, but it just doesn't seem like it's as important now. Some of us would start thinking about the chores, the to-dos, the other things that we have to get the house ready for the week because kids have to go to school or it's a mess or whatever. Sunday is just that. We weren't paying attention to here and now because we were thinking about the future. I wish Jacob was here for this joke, but he's not. The pastor in training, Jacob, he would have been sitting here waiting for some of Jenna's really good food, and he would have laughed at that, which makes us sad. And all of those things are all right. Some of those things are good things, like getting the house ready, grocery shopping, cooking, cleaning. Like, you have to do those things. But when you're present, when you're here, it needs to be a priority to be mentally and physically present. But it all begs the question, am I prioritizing the most important thing? Is my time in church spent thinking about other things? Or is it spent thinking, meditating on God and my relationship with Him? Am I getting closer to Him? Am I getting closer to my neighbor? And how can I help impact the world? Have I prioritized the things that matter the most, or are my priorities in order? Something that you'll learn from me is that whenever I talk from up here, it's all personal experience. It's something that I'm currently working on or something that I've experienced. I don't really come without, I don't like to teach in the abstract too much. I am more of an abstract thinker, but I like to talk about what I'm going through because otherwise it's just silliness. So personally, I'm very good at putting off things that are important. I'm an expert at procrastination. I'm so good at procrastinating that it's been several years and I have not yet finished my undergraduate degree. And why would I? I have all these other things that I could do, like go on Facebook or stay up while I was in college until 2 a.m. playing Super Smash Brothers. Other various video games or going out for dinner and not doing a single piece of homework. In fact, in research, working on the sermon, I got distracted by the concept of invisibility cloaks, which are actually closer than you would think.
You are such a nerd.
I know, but it's true. It's all about light refraction around an object, but we don't have the time to go into physics right now. But in short, I've had a hard time my whole life picking the better thing, picking the thing that's more important to my life, to others' lives, to my relationship with Jesus. Especially with my college degree, I didn't value it. I didn't value the value it could add to my life. Not necessarily that the piece of paper means anything by itself, but that when you have it, other things can come with it. And over the years, that's not the only thing that I didn't prioritize. I didn't prioritize my mental health, and for those of you guys that were here when I shared my testimony, that ultimately led to suicide attempts and severe depression and anxiety and stuff like that. Didn't prioritize my physical health, and so when I was down south, I was about 40 or 50 pounds heavier than I currently am. And I could keep listing off a bunch of things, but I do need to give time for Nathaniel to talk. As weird as it is for us to sit like this. So I'll just focus on the two most important things that I neglected and I failed to prioritize. I did not prioritize my relationship with God, and I did not prioritize my relationship with my family or friends. Not prioritizing my relationship with God was weird because I worked for a church. I was a pastor, and I was doing like recovery ministry, 12 steps, all very focused on that relationship with God, but because I felt like I was walking people through these steps, which is both the 12 steps and relationship with God steps, I felt like I was doing it on my own, but it was really more of a legalistic thing to me. And I could go off on reasons why I didn't prioritize my relationship with people or with God, but really what it boiled down to is when life got hard and stressful, it's just easier for me to shut down and to be alone. It's not helpful, it's not healthy. It's just, that's the way I programmed myself to function. It was easier to prioritize the distractions and just put my mind out of it. So in the Bible, we see a lot of stories of people running from their problems. You think of Kings. Why is it disappeared from my brain all of a sudden? No. The prophet. Elijah. Sorry, thank you.
Sorry.
Yep, no, just I didn't write it down in that time. So Elijah, he gets scared and he runs across the country to hide in a cave when there are mountains and caves where he is, but he had literally just killed, well, with God's power, he had killed 300 evil people, and there were very few left that could actually oppose him, but he was scared. But his fear was more, God's done with me. But the best example that we have of people that didn't prioritize, or somebody that didn't prioritize, the most important thing, it's a very simple story, is we see in Luke 10:38 through 42. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister named Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said, but Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me. Martha, Martha, the Lord answered, you are worried and upset about many things, but only one thing is needed, and Mary has chosen what is better. It will not be taken away from her. So, before I'm going to stand up for just a minute. Worried and upset. In another translation is anxious. You are anxious about many things. Martha had a lot on her mind. When it started to boil up, she had this guy that claimed to be the Messiah sitting in her living room, and she was supposed to have dinner on the table for him and all of his big party of guys that showed up with her, and her sister wasn't doing anything, but she was focused, like, I gotta do this right now. So, in order to distract herself from the feelings of anxiety of not being good enough and not performing enough for these people, she just buried into it and asked Jesus, like, hey, can you kind of kick her off your feet and send her over to come help me out? But Jesus pointed out that she hadn't picked the better thing. And many of us are Martha. Martha's a very relatable character, besides for Martha and that very different Martha, but like, I think so many of us have anxiety related to performance, and not like the clinical anxiety, more just the, what if I don't do a good enough job? But that's not the thing that Jesus said was the most important. Mary, on the other hand, prioritized the things that mattered more, namely Jesus, family, and friends. And now I hand it off to Nathaniel.
So to God, the most important thing that he prioritizes is relationships. That has been his priority from the very beginning of time, from the very first moment that he created man and woman, was relationship. You know, he wanted in the garden, he wanted to walk with Adam at all times. Whatever Adam was doing, whether Adam was gardening or taking care of the animals or wherever he was, it was relationship that he desired. He wanted to be with him, spend time with him, talk to him, speak to him, and encourage him. And that hasn't changed to this day. God still wants that for our lives. God still wants to speak to you and spend time with you. That's the most important thing. And God wants that for our lives as well with other people. He wants us to invest our time in spending with the people who are close to us, for our family, for our friends, for our neighbors. There's nothing that's more important to God than relationships. And I think that the story of Mary and Martha so clearly depicts that, how important relationships are to God, and how that is the priority of spending time with people and spending time ultimately with God each and every day. In Matthew chapter 22, it says, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. You see, even the two greatest commandments that God gave us were all about relationship. It was about relationship with God, and it was about relationship with other people. Everything else was sort of just secondary to that. It wasn't as important. And it can be so easy to want to spend all our time or invest in things that aren't related, or helping to better our relationship with God, or helping to better our relationship with other people in our lives. But that's what God desires for us, is he desires us to spend our time and invest what we have in the people around us. You see, our time is one of the most valuable things that we have. And we only have one life to live here on this earth. And we need to value each and every moment that we have and not waste it on pointless things. We need to spend that time valuing what's most important. And that most important thing is working on our relationship with God, walking with him each and every day, and spending time with the people of this world, loving them, caring for them, encouraging them. You see, in that story of Mary and Martha, Jesus says that Mary had chosen the better thing. And I love the image that story paints of how she was sitting and listening at Jesus' feet. And like when I picture that story in my head, the first thing that I think about is I was thinking about how when I was really little and how my mom would take us kids to the library once a week and we'd hear someone read us a story. And there were always those kids who, you had those kids who were in the back, they were distracted, they didn't really want to listen to the story. But then you had those kids that were like up on their knees, they were sitting as close as possible to the person reading the book because they wanted to see every picture. They wanted to see the words in the book. They wanted to hear every word that was being spoken. They didn't want to miss a thing. They were just like so in awe and in amazement that they were so present at that very moment of what was going on. They didn't want to miss a thing. And I sort of pictured Mary being that way. That she was just so in tune. She didn't want to miss a thing that Jesus was saying. She wanted to hear everything going on. And it could be so easy for us to be distracted about other things going on around us. Whether when we're spending time with God, maybe we're thinking about other things, and we're not really there in the moment. We're not really there experiencing his presence, really listening to him. And then the same thing can be true within our relationships with other people. We're spending time with people, but at the same exact time, we're scrolling through social media, or we're trying to do something else at the same exact time. You see, when Mary was with Jesus, she was all in. She was so focused. There was nothing else in the world that mattered to her except spending time with Jesus at that very moment. And that's what our relationships need to look like. That's what our relationships with each other need to look like, and that's what our relationships with God need to look like, where we're all in. We're so present, we're so engaged and so focused. You see, nothing else around her mattered. And that's something that it can be so hard to want to listen to what other people are saying because it can be so easy to get distracted by other things going on around us. But we have no idea how a moment or a minute or an hour of our time with someone, how that can change their lives. The simple words that we say to them, or simply maybe sometimes just being there for them and listening to them, how that can change their life drastically. We have no idea. You see, our God is a relational God. And he sets the example of what our life is supposed to look like in that capacity. He models for us what it means to be in a relationship with us. And that relationship, we're supposed to emulate that in the relationships that we have with so many other people. And that is the most important thing. Ultimately, we need to be seeking God first, putting him above all else. And then second to that is our relationships with other people. Making that the very priority, because so many other things in this world can wait. So many other things that we can honestly, there are other things that are important, but they're not as important as the people and our relationship with God. So church, we have to really think about where is our focus, where is our priorities, and make sure that we're investing in the right things, we're investing our time in the things that matter the most. Because our time spent is the most valuable thing that we have. It's the most valuable gift from God. And the relationships that we have the opportunity to craft and build with other people is such a beautiful and valuable thing. So don't waste that time. Don't waste those minutes that you have with people, those conversations that you can have. Allow God to lead you and guide you in healthy relationships. Healthy relationships ultimately with him and with other people. Allow him to lead you and guide you and show you how you should best utilize your time to prioritize the things that God deems as most important. Well, worship team, yeah, you want to come up? I totally forgot to say that.
I bless you in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. May he pour out his grace and power and mercy upon you. May you love people around you deeply. May you connect with that one person who needs an encouraging word or an encouraging moment this week. May you be significant as a son or daughter of the Most High wherever you go, because God is for you, and when he is for you, it doesn't matter who's against you. God is with you. Amen.